working for you. This is Wave 3 News at 6.
Right now at 6, extreme violence in Louisville leaves 3 people dead and 3 people hurt. The tense moments caught on camera by our crew in the field, and that story continues to unfold. Police are investigating 2 scenes in West Louisville, one on 32nd Street, the other on Elliott Street. We have live team coverage. Our Scott Reynolds and the team have been in the middle of all that chaos. And Scott, what are the crews telling you tonight?
Well, police here are still working, Janelle. We expect that these investigators will be on the scene probably throughout the night. They'll stay here because the tensions are still high in this neighborhood. The crowds of people, though, who live in this area, they have gone back home. It's dinner time. No doubt the topic of conversation, what happened at 1 o'clock when gunfire erupted at a home near 32nd in Kentucky. We know that there were 3 people killed. 1 man found dead on the porch, 1 found dead on the sidewalk, and another one seriously wounded. Another one drove away wounded. And then, of course, that 3rd fatality happened about 90 minutes later when 2 women got into an argument. One of them killed. Our Jamie Weiss, you were right there where that gunfire erupted.
Yeah, we unfortunately parked in the wrong spot, not knowing what would happen. We got here really not long after that first shooting at 1 o'clock. We were working to gather information, and we noticed how on edge people were. People were arguing, yelling at each other when we pulled up. Officers were trying to split them up. We didn't realize how high the tensions were until we got caught in the middle of the gunfire.
It started as an upset woman who family says saw the body of her loved one dead on the ground. Over to 26th and Elliott, where we saw her while we were live on the air. The next thing we know, there was arguing and shots fired. Photographer James Thomas and I took cover in the back of our live truck and watched, like everyone else who was taking cover on the ground. We now know, according to police, one of the women involved in that argument shot and killed the one she was fighting with. Police say they then shot the shooter, who was taken to the hospital.
In the middle of that, as police saw us rolling, they asked us to get out of the way. They knew how dangerous it was. They were asking all those people in that area to get down on the ground, get out of the way. We drove away as quick as we could, and honestly, I knew they were calling for paramedics. I knew they were calling for help. I knew someone may have been injured, but we were just trying to get to safety, to get out of the way. It wasn't until just a few minutes later that we left that I realized just how serious that shooting was that we were right in the line of.
And of course, police were really trying to secure that scene. In fact, one of the officers was hollering at you and your photographer.
Yeah, they were. Officers were talking to all those people who were out there. They were trying to gather information, so they were in the middle of it. They came running with their guns drawn. They knew it was not safe for us to be in there, and they said you need to get out of here. All
right, thanks, Jamie Weiss, who was caught up by that gunfire at the 2:30 shooting here today. And when you come on the scene, you hear a lot of people screaming and some crying because relatives, friends have been lost in these shootings today. Connie Leonard, you got to talk to one of the victims' relatives.
Yeah, Scott, what's so sad about this whole situation is that 2 of these victims were young parents of the same child. A cousin came up to us telling us that the woman who was shot, that Jamie just told you about, was actually at the hospital with a relative who was pregnant. She heard that the father of her child had been shot and killed. She comes down here to see what's going on and gets in an argument with another woman who then shoots and kills her. And then police, of course, had to shoot that woman. Here's what the dead woman's family had to say about all this violence.
It needs to stop. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. It's too many black-on-black crimes are killing each other for no apparent reason. She's 22 years old, man. She's 22 years old, dude. I swear, man.
Too many young people are dying.
They took my cousin from me.
Young people are dying. Y'all need to get out here. Y'all need to get jobs. Y'all need to take care of one another. Stop the gun.
Councilwoman Attica Scott lives right here, just 3 blocks down at Hale. And Attica, what a day it has been. I know you had to get your son picked up at Central High School when you heard this was going on. What are your thoughts on all this violence?
My thoughts are that our community needs to sit down with the mayor and the Chief Conrad, to look at some real strategies of how we stop this violence before it gets out of hand. Summer is almost upon us, and that's when people really get out of control, and our neighborhoods need bridge builders to bring us all together.
You said as a mom you were so worried about your kids, but you were able to go pick up your kids, and some mothers didn't have that.
I had the privilege of leaving my office and going to Central High School and picking up my son, but there are parents who had no idea what was going on. They're not privileged to be able to watch TV during the middle of the day when they're at work, or they don't have transportation to pick up their kids.
All right. Councilwoman, thank you for joining us. And Scott, she said she's going to watch the situation and make sure that police do follow through with keeping officers down here.
Boy, we're going to have more from Chief Conrad about that because he really wants to do a lot of community policing, and this will be one he'll target on for sure. We know that one of those original shooting victims who was wounded got in a car and drove away to 26th and Elliott. That's where we find our David Williams live tonight with more. David?
Scott, we talked to that man's mother. He's one of the survivors from the original shooting this afternoon. When we spoke to her, she was distraught. She was trying to collect her thoughts and really figure out what happened involving her son. She told me her son was shot in the thigh in that original shooting, drove himself over here to 26th and Elliott. Then she says her son was taken to the hospital. She says when we spoke to her, she said her son was in stable condition. When we were here earlier this afternoon, we saw a car that police believe the man was driving. There was a bullet hole in the back of that car, and that car was removed by LMPD this afternoon. The scene is clear right now, but this afternoon, here's what his mother had to say.
He's stable. He's okay. But the other two are not, and they're all in their mid-20s.
And again, the scene is clear. This afternoon. LMPD was investigating. Homicide was also on the scene, but there were plenty of people here looking this afternoon, but they are home. And the mother told me this afternoon, she said it just doesn't make any sense, and she is still trying to figure out what happened. Working for you live along 26th and Elliott, I'm David Williams, Wave 3 News. Scott, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, David. One of the folks on the street here told me, we've got to remember, parents have lost a child, relatives have lost a loved one. Some did survive, though. The wounded went to U of L Hospital. Let's go there to Liz Donatelli right now. Liz?
Scott, 3 victims that we know of right now, 2 men in the original shooting and 1 woman in the second shooting. We believe she was the woman who was shot by an LMPD officer. As of right now, it's pretty quiet except for this helicopter, of course, that's going off right there. Other than that, a few marked vehicles that are outside the emergency room. It is on lockdown, but that is just a precaution. No incidents as of right now. We want to repeat, no incidents. Again, lockdown is a precaution just in case some of the people involved in this do come back or there's some sort of altercation. Once again, 3 victims in the hospital that we know of right now. As you can see, the helicopter is lifting away, but we do not expect that this is involved in this incident at all. Scott, we're going to send it back your way.
All right, thanks, Liz Donatelli, live from U of L Hospital tonight. Imagine what the parents in this neighborhood were thinking. All these police cars, about 50 officers running around and gunshots going off, and they're waiting for their kids to come home. They can't get here. Eric Flack joins us with the plan that JCPS implemented to take care of those kids. Eric?
And it was a plan, Scott, that they actually have in place for any sort of emergencies, including what happened today. At its height, probably about 200 kids ended up here at Central High School. Those are kids who could not get home on the bus because their bus stop was in the area of the shooting. JCPS had to take those kids somewhere. They brought them here. As you can see, not a lot of activity behind me because just a couple minutes ago, they cleared the scene. All the kids who were brought here to Central High School that couldn't get home because of that shooting have now been picked up by parents or a loved one or a relative and taken to their home. So the good news, everything went smooth in this part of this plan here today. All the kids home safely. Reporting live from Central High School, Eric Flack, Wave 3 News.
All right, thanks, Eric. And when I came on the scene this afternoon, one of the first people I saw was the new police chief, Steve Conrad, and he was carrying a cooler full of water bottles with another officer to try to get it up here to all his investigators and detectives because they were going to be here for hours. And we suspect they might be here through the night because police aren't telling us yet if this is drug-related, why all these shootings have happened here in recent months, and the shootings particularly today with 3 fatalities. But you've got to believe they're going to be careful to make sure that those closest to these shootings suspects, these shooting victims, and those who are in the hospital tonight don't get involved in any kind of tense conflict again here this evening. So we suspect officers, Janelle, will be here throughout the night taking care of the scene here near 32nd and Kentucky.
Yeah, hopefully cooler heads will prevail. Thanks, Scott. And Wave 3 is bringing you all the information you need to stay up to date on the story. Head to wave3.com. We're going to continue to update it as anything develops. Well, all new at 6 and only on Wave 3, major developments in the William Clyde Gibson serial murder investigation as crews take their search from New Albany to Bloomington.
Well, it's 76 degrees right now in Louisville. A warm day today, but it gets hot for the weekend. We'll check the forecast out for you when we come back. We're coming back in just 60 seconds.
Working for you. This is Wave 3 News at 6 with Scott Reynolds and Janelle McDonald, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harney, and Kent Taylor, Sports.
The case against a suspected serial killer moves more than 100 miles away today. Wave 3 captured exclusive video as investigators were searching a wooded area in Bloomington, Indiana. Wave 3's Katie Bauer continues to follow the story. And Katie, as soon as people hear that they're searching in Bloomington, their minds will probably go to Lauren Spear. So what can you tell us?
Janelle, sources tell us this is not connected to the missing IU student. We were told earlier today William Clyde Gibson was out of jail with investigators for several hours in Bloomington. Take a look. This is exclusive video of New Albany police checking out a new location. It all happened on Airport Road, southwest of the Monroe County Airport. Around 11:30, several unmarked police cars and vans were at this site as investigators took a look around. After a couple hours, they left the scene, only to return around 3 to collect some soil samples. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office says that a tip led New Albany police to this wooded area in search of a female's remains. But the Sheriff's Office says it has nothing to do with any of their cases. Our cameras never captured Gibson at the scene. In the last couple weeks, New Albany police have been checking out several different areas. This is the first search that we are aware of that has been out of town. We are told nothing of significance has been found since they discovered 35-year-old Stephanie Kirk buried in Gibson's backyard on Woodburn Drive. He is already charged with the death of 2 women, 75-year-old Christine Whitus, who was found strangled in his home, and the 2002 murder of 46-year-old Karen Hodella. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office says the area is being prepped for a possible future dig, but no digging took place today. This case continues to unravel, and we will, of course, keep you updated. Working for you live in the newsroom, Katie Bauer, Wave 3 News.
All right, thank you, Katie. Well, have you ever called 911 once, maybe twice? How about more than 600 times in just 1 year? That's the problem Louisville's MetroSafe is dealing with, and they say it is wasting valuable resources that could cost us all the next time an emergency happens. It has been a crazy afternoon. Breaking news, 3 people dead, 3 people injured, and problems spreading out across the metro from this very, very violent afternoon. About 200 students had to be held at Central High School, and University Hospital's emergency room put on lockdown. It's been a crazy day for emergency responders, and they deal with a lot of stuff every day. In fact, pranksters, a pretty persistent problem for 911 operators. Here in Louisville, I'm told they create competition for open lines, they waste call takers' time, and they risk delaying real emergency response. Most are dealt with quickly, but MetroSafe says one is creating a problem. Tonight, we're looking into one caller who is considered the Metro's worst 911 abuser.
Does he need to go to the hospital because he's having trouble breathing?
Even during the busiest time of day, MetroSafe has only about 10 people.
We're going to have someone come and check you out.
Waiting to take emergency calls for all of Louisville.
We'll have sometimes 911 calls holding because so many people call on one instance.
Which is why MetroSafe spokeswoman Jody Johnson says when operators hear this voice on the line.
Do you need any information from me first?
It's so frustrating.
Okay, what information would you like to give me? I need to report an assault.
That voice on the other end belongs to Connie Marshall. If the name sounds familiar, it's because she was a 2010 candidate for Metro Mayor. She's also the most frequent caller to Louisville's 911.
Last year alone, I've got some statistics. She called 684 times.
Some days, Johnson says Marshall will call 10, 12, 14, up to 19 times in one day.
The duration of all of the calls together was about 29 hours.
And if that sounds excessive, it seems to be getting worse. These are all the calls that Marshall has made to 911 this year. 630 so far through the beginning of this month. And that's only from one number. MetroSafe now says Marshall is calling from a second phone number.
And in one day, actually last week, she called 27 times in one day.
This call, sources tell me, is pretty typical of her complaint.
And I am reporting an assault that's been going on all morning. And again, I do not want an ambulance at my home. I do not want a police officer at my home.
And she didn't need anything. She just wanted us to be recording information on the telephone.
As you listen to the call, it becomes pretty clear there's something else going on.
I am the lady that's being assaulted by directed energy weapons, and with the Louisville Metro Police Department are committing the crime.
But at MetroSafe, they're frustrated. Marshall is not the only person who calls 911 who doesn't need a response.
Sometimes we do have prank calls, and unfortunately adults do prank call as well, and they call and say, hey, there's a fire at this location.
But MetroSafe officials tell me Marshall is clearly the worst abuser. She's been calling for 3 years, and it's escalating, tying up the line for people who have more pressing emergencies.
I feel for the people, yes, they should get through, but I should not be ignored when I'm being burned, when I'm being raped, when my heart's being attacked, when I'm being made to fall down in my home, when all those things are going on, then no, I should not be ignored.
I confronted Marshall about why she calls so frequently.
Matter of fact, it's well over 600 times. It could be close to 900 to 1,000. And that shows how many, you can look at it on the other side of the coin, that's how many assaults I have endured.
MetroSafe Director Doug Hamilton sent Marshall this notice late last month that she could face penalties if her calls continue. And if she doesn't need police, fire, or EMS, the operators will now hang up.
All right. Bye-bye.
Now, Johnson says she is unclear if Marshall could actually face criminal charges for her calls to 911. And Hamilton says, frankly, jail space should be reserved for violent offenders. A spokesman for the county attorney's office says the office, which represents MetroSafe, has not been asked for an official opinion, but in general, someone would have to put individuals or property in danger to face charges for misuse of 911.
Working for you, this is your Wave 3 weather forecast from Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett.
So she's putting us all in danger. Outside today, Mother Nature helping out with some clear skies across the area. With that sunshine here, we've seen a few storms pop up just off to our south. I'll pull the radar up so you can see those scattered storms, mainly across the Kentucky-Tennessee border. They're very spotty and scattered. They're not in our viewing area, well to the south of us and for us. Overnight tonight, throughout the evening and into the night, clear skies. Temperatures falling down into the 60s. A pretty good-looking evening. During the day tomorrow, looking good, too. Hey, it's bike to work day tomorrow, so grab the helmet, put on the shoes, and sit on the bike and ride to work. Looks good with plenty of sunshine expected once again for our Friday. Likewise, today it's 76 degrees, so we've bumped up to see average high temperatures for this time of year. We actually reached the high of 77, and that's the average high for this time of the season. Average low met as well in the upper 50s. All in all, a normal day for us. A lot of 70s showing up around the region. 82 Bowling Green, 80 in Evansville. Under a clear sky, we've seen lots of sunshine today, clear skies tonight, plenty of sun tomorrow. Clouds will gradually increase as we move on into the weekend, though, and rain chances go up by early next week. A few scattered showers and thunderstorms back out to the west of us, but as far as we're concerned, mainly clear skies. During the day tomorrow, wouldn't be surprised to see a spotty shower chance off to our south, but most areas stay dry with high temperatures topping out in the mid-80s. Upper 80s to our south arrive here during the day on Saturday. Overnight tonight, 55 the overnight low. Clear skies tonight and tomorrow. We'll push that temperature up to 84 for a high on your Friday. Saturday, 88. Sunday, 90. It's a 10% storm chance through the weekend, 30 and then a 40% chance by Tuesday. Notice temperatures cool down with that rain chance going up early next week. Then we're right back in the low to mid 80s for Wednesday and Thursday. Bike to work day on Friday. The weather tour stops by the old Louisville Fest and the St. Matthew's Street Festival this weekend. We'll hope to see some folks out there. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Kent Taylor has a look at sports.
Tomorrow, the U of L softball team opens NCAA tournament play with the best record of any team in the field. But as Kendrick Haskins tells us, they are not satisfied. They're looking for more.
And with that swing,
she does have a few, and that one is over the fence.
Jordan Trimble lived out the dream that anybody who has ever picked up a bat has had.
That's something that we all picture. Our coaches tell us to go home at night and picture that big hit.
That win, combined with a 53-3 record, landed the Cards a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament, home games for the regionals, and a possible third matchup this season with arch rival UK in the second round.
I know it's out there. I could play Michigan again. But I think right now we have to take care of the first game. I don't want to be you know, that team that's the #1 seed and gets knocked out by the 4 seed and goes into the loser's bracket.
Valpo's got a really strong offense, so we have to handle them first on Friday. But if we get a chance to play Kentucky, you know, we've beaten them twice at both really close games, so we just really have to come out and make sure that we're ready to go against anyone.
For the U of L softball team, making it to the regionals is old hat. They've done it before. They've done it 4 years in a row. Now they have their sights set on a much bigger goal, making it to the College World Series.
All year we've just wanted to win Big East. We got that done. We did that twice, and now we just want to make it to the World Series. That's our other big goal.
They've been here. Most of our team, except for my freshmen, obviously, have been there, and they just have been wanting this more than anything in the world is to get out of this regional.
Kendrick Haskins, Wave 3 Sports.
Thank you, Kendrick. The Olympic opening ceremony in London is just 71 days away. Wave 3 and NBC will be your home for all the coverage. And today, the Olympic torch was handed over to London organizers that had traveled around ancient Greece, the birthplace of the Games now, a 70-day, 8,000-mile trip around Great Britain. And would this guy affect your free throw shooting? That's his goal. He made it difficult for the Celtics' Kevin Garnett to concentrate in last night's game in Philadelphia. Goodness, I hope you've had your dinner. You will not be able to unsee that.
Thank you for sharing it, Ken.
Sure.
We really appreciate it.
That's what we do.
All right. Well, we still continue to follow that breaking news in the West End, the Parkland neighborhood. 3 people killed this afternoon, 3 more injured, and our crews are on the scene. They are gathering the very latest information. This has affected U of L Hospital. It's affected school kids on their way home from school. We've got much more information coming up for you on Wave 3 News at 7 and anytime on wave3.com. We'll see you then.